Episode 6 is here now, and today we have the brilliant Trevor Jones with us. He's a mental performance coach, and I'm just going to let him explain his journey because he's had an awesome journey to get here. I think you just mentioned about 10 years into it. So I'm going to let you go back those 10 years. It probably goes further than that, but I'm going to let you go back and let us know what it's all about.
Yeah, thank you so much, George. It's kind of great being on your show. I love what you're doing with this, by the way. So yes, as you said, I'm a mental performance coach. I'm the psychological ambassador for something called the British Junior Golf Tour, which is kind of really, rising in prominence these last few years. I work in various sports. Golf is obviously the primary one, but I'm doing some stuff in water polo as well. I'm mentoring several clinical psychologists at the moment. And yeah, I've got connections with something called the Aware Performance Group, which is an American-based kind of performance psychology group. But I'm also, for my sins, a PGA Pro, right? So I've also known that journey really well. And as you said, this kind of 10-year journey into psychology had its roots in probably starting around 2008. Okay, so I was on the last hole of the Welsh National Championship with a 2-shot lead, right? Several hundred people around the green as a par 3. Yeah. And, in the years building up to this, obviously you're working on your craft, you're developing your game, you're looking at nutrition, you're looking at TPI, right? Your body and everything else, looking at your technique, obviously, and psychology naturally comes up, right? So I was doing kind of all the things that were available at the time. And I get to the last hole, right? I walk into the ball and I have this thought come up on me. Don't shank it, right? Like a national championship is on the line here.
Are you a shanker of the ball? Can that happen? Or is it just, has this popped out from anywhere?
Completely out of nowhere.
Wow.
Completely out of nowhere. Like, obviously, we've all shanked it, right? And it can happen anytime, but you do not want to do it on that hole because there's just a load of trash. Your 2-shot lead's going real quick there. So I step back out of the shot and I try and do my little kind of mental gymnastics, which is really kind of what was being taught at the time. And I step into the ball and my mind is just screaming at me. And I kid you not, like my downswing, my eyes were closed. It was like a white knuckle ride. Yeah. And I flushed it. Like I look up and I just see this thing sailing at the pin, pitched like 10 feet short. I struck it so well it even spun back 20 feet, right? And I was just like, what's happened? What's happened, right? Like everything, well, cut long story short, I end up then kind of 2-putting and my mind's still going at me like a banshee at this point, right? I 2-putt, I take the title, I drive home, I'm looking at the trophy in the passenger seat and it's like, what's happened?
Yeah.
Like everything I knew about sports psychology at that point had just been trashed. Like everything was about like in with the confidence, out with the bad. See what I mean? Out with the self-doubt, in with the confidence. You've got to be able to see it, believe it. You've got to be able to feel it. None of those things were happening when I hit that shot.
Yeah.
And I was just like I didn't know. I didn't know right at that point. Then I kind of started, obviously that was really bugging me for a while. I then kind of struggled a little bit, tried to get onto the European tour, had a few starts, then, it didn't work out. So I kind of came back into coaching, but always had one hand on psychology. And then I remember it very clearly. Someone mentioned to me, have you heard about ACT, right? It stands for Acceptance Commitment Training. I was like, never heard of it, right? The first page of the first book that I ever read on it, I was just like, oh my God, like this is it. This explains everything, right? Like the heavens opened. I was like, this is incredible. So we were kind of talking just before off air about, getting any good at anything tends to have a bit of an obsessional quality to it. And I've just been like a man possessed, in the trenches with this. Like some of my colleagues are like, what are you doing? Why are you reading this? Why are you kind of speaking to this person? But it's been phenomenal. It's been a hell of a ride. And turns out it's been a really good place to look.
Yeah. I think we had a chat during COVID, didn't we? And I think you put me on the track of this ACT stuff. And it's been, don't get me wrong, the last letter T, training, comes into it more than anything you ever know, because it's very hard to change that mindset into that way. Explain a little bit more on it and how, let's start explaining what it is, and then we'll maybe go into a little bit more of how it can work for golf.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a, well, maybe if I kind of say it like this, right? So a fair amount of I would say it's true, a fair amount of what I do with clients, with sports people, golfers, athletes, is myth busting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I've kind of come up with this little way of really putting this really big question mark over, as you say, these old mindsets, these old ideas. So obviously it's bespoke to the client, but with college golfers, they love this, right? So I say, I want you to look out or check yourself for your STDs. I knew you'd like that, right?
Yeah.
But in this context, it stands for socially transmitted dogmas.
Right.
So these ideas, these beliefs, these kind of dogmas that are just in the water supply.
Yeah.
Okay. And we just kind of pick them up without even realizing it. And they influence us in such powerful ways. And we don't even realize. And the biggest myth of all is, in order to play well, I must feel confident.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, can I, on that point,
Yeah.
how many times have we gone to the range and like for a warm up and struck it absolutely horrendously, and then gone and played some of the best golf? Because first of all, like you say, it's that bias, that, so you expect, your expectations have already gone from there to there, so you're just playing golf.
Nice.
Already.
Yeah, you're connecting with the task at hand, would
Yeah.
be like the technical speak, right? But you've hit the nail on the head. The antidote to these STDs is the client's own experience. Okay. Like I give them this, right? So I'm going to give you a quote of an athlete, right? They've played in this tournament 14 years, and I want you to tell me how you think they did. Okay. Every year I have self-doubt. Every year I doubt myself. The athlete in question has played this event 14 years. How do you think they got on?
What's the field? What are we talking?
Just kind of like sport. Don't want to give it away just yet, but just
Top 5.
okay. So kind of okay.
Yeah.
Like ish. Yeah. I mean, most people are, obviously their nose is already under the rug with this, but most people are like average, they struggled, they did really poorly, right? The athlete in question is Rafael Nadal. The event is the French Open.
Yeah. He's won that a few times.
Like one of the best records in all of sport,
Yeah.
right? Every year I have self-doubt. So you're telling me you don't want to be Rafael Nadal at the French Open?
Oh, well, yeah. I'd take him at the French Open and his bank balance. Yeah.
So this is the issue, right? When we have this, if I feel confident, then I can play.
Yeah.
In psychology, that's known as a conditional relationship. Okay. If this feeling is present, then I get to do my thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this, right? What does it feel like if you enter into a relationship with someone that's based on conditions?
Yeah. Yeah.
You with me?
Yep.
Like, if you do this, then I'll do this.
Yeah.
Do you want to go into that relationship,
Not particularly.
Ryan? What we're after, well, the alternative is an unconditional relationship.
Yeah.
You with me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what about if you're setting up that conditional relationship with yourself?
Yeah.
Like, if this is present, then I can do this thing.
Yeah.
Is that the kind of relationship that you want to have with yourself? I don't know anyone who puts their hand up saying, sign me up. I want to be in those conditional relationships, right? We talk about parenting. When it's done really well, it has the unconditional love.
Yeah.
You with me?
Yep.
Yeah. But here we are saying, oh, no, 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 no. In this context, it has to be this, then this.
Yeah.
I have to catch myself there. I might go on a rant, but it's nonsense. You might, I don't know, can you beep things out? So there might be a few of these coming. So
I mean, if I relate that back to, I mean, you're very much like mental performance. I'm very much statistical performance, but it's the same. It's that same starting point is myth busting straight away. I mean, I've got guys that offer 20 that think they need to hit 8 greens around to shoot a good score. It's like, no, 2 to 4, and you're shooting very acceptable scores. But they don't understand that to start with. Same with putting. It's huge with putting. Statistical wise, putting, I mean, people think they're going to hold everything from 8, and it's actually on the floor, it's 50%. Like, just
like I must hold this putt.
Yeah.
To be
Yeah. You know, don't get me wrong, think that you want to hold it. Like, don't not think that, but accept it's okay if you miss. You're not going to hold all of them. But
so you're doing some work there around kind of being more realistic with expectations.
yeah. Well, you have to, you have to, right? If these guys are the best in the world and you're thinking you're holding all of them, then there's definitely a bias that's wrong there.
Yeah. So what that can produce, right, just from a psychological point of view, is that can start to kind of liberate people's attention.
Yeah.
Okay. And the place they want to kind of put that attention is on the task. All right. So a good friend of mine, Dr. Peter Haberl, who's been senior sports psychologist for the US Olympic team for the last 25 years, he says, attention is the currency of performance, not thoughts, not feelings. Yeah. So this kind of confidence game that, you know, trying to kind of create all these right conditions, trying to work on my self-belief, trying to work on my self-talk, trying to work on my confidence. You know, that's like someone turning up to a lesson saying, I'm trying to create more lag in my downswing. Right?
Yeah.
Is that the thing that produces good shots?
Well, not particularly.
Like, what would TrackMan say? Yeah, TrackMan doesn't give a rat's ass about what your lag is doing in the downswing, right?
Yeah.
So this has been the act game kind of all along. They're less interested in the form, and we've kind of seen this arc in coaching, right? And how destructive that. I mean, how many careers has that ruined? Guy's got a little bit of kind of momentum in his career, tries thinking, can I get, like, I'm top 100, I want to get into that top 50, goes to a coach. We're talking 1990s, right? You kind of know the arc of this story. Went through a phase of being very, very obsessed with the form, the look of things. Yeah. How did that work out?
Not good.
Okay. Yeah. You might have got the odd one, right?
Yeah.
But it did more harm than good. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Psychology has had this exact same arc, similar times as well, actually, maybe slightly lagging behind coaching in a sense, but they had that kind of obsession with form. Like, it's kind of, you've got to get the thinking right, you've got to get the confidence right. Okay. And again, to the detriment, people get more in their head. Yeah. Like I say to people, which would you rather? Would you rather a game in your head or your head in the game? Yeah. And this is what people are doing. They end up kind of, but it's got to be the confidence, it's got to be the self-belief. They end up doing all these mental gymnastics. the golf ball doesn't know what's going on, right? We need you to connect to the task. So we end up creating these conditions that's basically in a tug of war, okay? In the very moment when you need to have your head in the game, you need to be connected to the task. And this is what great athletes do, is they're far more task focused than they are self-focused. Yeah. So rather than playing tug of war, they've learned to drop the rope. Yeah. So kind of there's been, as you well know, right, this kind of shift from this obsession with form, being the same in psychology, kind of looking more towards function. How is that working? Yeah. How is that manifesting, right? And that's just been a phenomenal shift for coaching. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And psychology is still lagging behind a little bit. There's still these STDs in the in the kind of the water supply. I'm doing my best to, you know, hence me being here, right? Try and kind of bust some of these myths.
Yeah.
Look at your own experience. As you said, you've had days where you've been nervous as hell and you've had all of the doubt in the world and you've absolutely flushed it down the middle. Yeah.
That doesn't happen often, Trevor, but
yeah, I've seen your Instagram, but no. All jokes aside, right? You've had those days.
Yeah.
You've had those days.
Yeah.
So again, this kind of, thankfully, there's been this shift over to looking closely at function, and there's been like these guys in psychology who created ACT have been on this 40-year journey to really understand what are the key processes. And as a metaphor, I think a really good way of thinking about this is TrackMan.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, what are the 6 key TrackMan principles that give us the thing that suits the situation? Obviously, you can change that as per the context. Same thing with your psychology. Okay. We've nailed it down to the 6 key processes. We can expand it a little bit if we're going to be, if we need to be generous about it. But trying to kind of manipulate the way you feel and trying to get this like confidence thing, that's like trying to lag your downswing.
Yeah. It hopefully that will resonate with a lot of people, because it's so, I mean, it's so hard to mask self-doubt, right? It's so hard to mask it when, if you focus on, like you say, if your attention is on the shot at hand instead of that emotion of trying to be confident, you can't stop that thinking. I mean, I don't know, I don't care who you are, you can't stop that thinking. But if you can narrow that attention on, right, this is the target, this is the shot shape, let's go and do that, then, well, you're already in a different mindset anyway there, because you've focused in a different place. That task is focused, not don't hit this right, don't hit this left, you know what I mean?
So the main thing, and you're absolutely spot on there. You're absolutely spot on. But how do you get there, right? How do you create this kind of unconditional kind of relationship with yourself, with your own uncomfortable experiences, right? Like, do you mind if we just do a little exercise that can kind of showcase this a little bit?
Let's do it, Trevor.
Right.
Let's dive deep into a terrible mind.
Yeah, we're not doing any kind of Freudian kind of stuff here, by the way. This is all going to be very, very safe. But what I would say is, especially with you, George, we need to be right. But what I would say is, look, there's no delete button in the nervous system.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you think about even the guys at the highest level, how much failing have they done?
Yeah.
How much shanking the ball, slicing the ball, topping the ball, hooking it? You know, you'd even argue that they've had more failure than the average amateur playing on the weekend, because more practice equals more failure, right? And it's slightly subjective at that point. So you'd even say this.
Way more opportunity at a much higher level to fail.
So there's no delete button in the nervous system. Yeah. The way our mind works is it's relations can kind of form all over the place, right? So it's almost like, you know, there's no way we can get away with that. So the main thing that disrupts that ability to focus on the task is if we have an unhealthy relationship with ourselves. Okay. If we have these kind of conditional relationships with ourselves, that's the main thing that's going to interrupt it. So I'll tell you what, if have you got a paper and a
Yep.
piece of paper and a pen? Yeah.
Yep.
So I'll tell you what, if we create a new bit of history right here, right? So I want you to kind of think about your performance. Yeah, think about your golf performance. And maybe think of something, and you don't have to kind of say what it is, but think about something that has a bit of history to it, something that you've struggled with. Yeah, something kind of shows up when you don't want it to.
Yep.
Have you got something? Can you think
Yep.
of something? You don't have. I mean, you could share it. You don't have to.
Can you write it down? Share it. I can share
You
it.
write, yeah, you write it down. If you could put it almost into like a simple sentence or a word.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's got 2 words.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, get that down. Okay. So
You like me to share it, Trevor? It's better if I share it. I don't mind. I can share.
it's completely up to you. If you're comfortable, then
I've written down duck hook.
okay. Yeah, nice.
That causes me mental problems, not just scoring problems.
Fantastic. Okay, great. So there's something that's got a little bit of history to it. I'm guessing it's kind of showed up at the wrong times before. Yeah.
Always.
So, like when this thought kind of shows up, like just tell me a couple of things that you've tried to, get yourself through this or around it.
I will try and slice the living hell out of it for the rest of the day.
Okay. Okay.
So now then,
But what about mentally when that kind of so I get it, your kind of your physical response to that, but what about kind of mentally? I'm just wondering if you do me a little favor, right? Just take that. Here, I've got a piece of card here. So if you just take that, and what I want you to do is I just want you to kind of hold it like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that thought, like, so I'm guessing it's something like don't hook it.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Awesome. Okay. So just hold it like this, and I just want you to try and push it away from yourself as hard as you can. Okay, so that thought has shown up. Don't hook it. Yeah, just do that for me. So just really push it away. That's it.
Yeah, you can only go so far.
Like really hold that away, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's it.
I mean,
so this thought kind of shows up. Don't hook it.
Yeah.
Can you kind of feel this tension, this struggle?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
You not hearing my voice, Trevor?
But like when you've got this real kind of struggle going on, can you really notice what else is going on?
Yeah, nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. There's so much.
So now do me a favor and just place that on your lap in front of you.
Yeah.
It's the same thought.
Yeah.
Don't hook it. Yeah. What's it like to just see it there?
It's there, but it's nowhere near as pronounced as when you're holding on to it.
Okay, nice. Like, I wonder if you'd be willing to do me a favor and, like, the next time you go play, is repeat that little exercise. Yeah. But then put it in your back pocket.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But can you kind of see this in clients you've had, this struggling?
Yeah. 100%.
Can you kind of feel it, this tension, this constriction? Yeah. And that might be their self-doubt, that might be their anxiousness, right? Like we heard with Nadal. What does it feel like Nadal is doing? Does it feel like he's doing this, or does it feel like he's got that thing in his pocket?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like maybe having that doubt, because that's really what it is, right? That the form of it is don't hook it, but it's really just a doubt of your own ability, right? Like what if that didn't make you defective? What if that made you human?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But everyone we're taught, as I said, these STDs, we've got to erase that. We've got to get rid of our history. Yeah. We've got to deny it. We've got to delete it. It's not how the system works.
Yeah. 100%. That is, and that's where most people go to, thinking that is a defect of personality, not something that is there. It's okay to be there, and how do we then not overcome it, but how do we play alongside it or work alongside it?
Like how do we integrate it?
Yeah.
Okay, because the unfortunate thing all right, is the kind of the spin-off of what seems like a quite healthy process,
Yeah.
working on your self-belief, working on your confidence. You turn up and you struggle like hell with this stuff, like I did.
Yeah.
You end up thinking there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
Because you look at all these, like the commentators say, right? You see all these players, right? Look how, yes, they're so confident. Look at them walking around kind of like this bold as brass, right?
Yeah.
They have no idea what's going on. And I just posted this video. I think you saw it about Cam Smith at the British Open.
Yeah.
St. Andrews, right? The back nine, he is tearing it up,
Yeah.
absolutely tearing it up. And the commentators are like, this guy's in flow. This guy's in the zone. Look, oh my God, he's so confident, right? It's a lie. It's a lie. I know his sports psychologist. He went to take a sip of water on the 12th hole. He was so anxious. He couldn't even drink water. He nearly choked to death on TV. It's a lie. And no struggle with it.
Yeah.
Okay. He was more than willing and open to kind of have that and stayed connected to his task, stayed very consistent with his behavior. Yeah.
And I think that's just a point on that is if you stay very task specific and keep the attention on the task, you are way more focused anyway. So you may look confident through being focused more than anything else.
Well said. Yeah, well said. I think this commentators, and we just generally speaking get the wording wrong. What we're describing is competence.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the kind of the behavior. That's the physical behavior. Confidence is a feeling, which we can't know what someone else is feeling, right? Yeah. So we get that kind of language, and commentators get that language just all wrong, and it's, again, a little bit like that kind of obsession with the form that we've seen in coaching. Psychology suffered the same, and it's really done more harm than good. It's done more harm than good.
We won't get started on commentators on TV because I think I'll lose my mind over
that. Brilliant. Well, I'm sure I can help you find it again, but but okay, so here's the thing, right? I've said that these ACT guys have been on the journey, this process focused journey for 40 years. Okay, so here's where we are. So we now, and I say we, I'm just playing a small part of this kind of thing, but we've now got the technology. It's been created by some unbelievably clever people, and it's incorporating kind of AI and a new statistical analysis that has never been seen on the planet before. And what it's basically doing is this, right? So let's think about psychology historically has been a little bit like watching YouTube videos, right? Oh, okay, yeah, that looks like it should work. I'll try that. How do you feel when a client says, I mean, you can probably tell when they've been on the YouTube again, right?
No comment, Trevor. No.
Yeah, okay. And just for the general kind of punter, right? Kind of watching, they might pick up something that might be useful, but how long is it useful for? Yep. Up and disappears, within 5 minutes, right? So psychology's kind of been stuck, and this is why I think there's been a lot of, not really skepticism, but there's been a lot of, how do we actually, like, everyone knows that psychology is important in golf, but it's not been very convincing in terms of how to work at it, right? How to actually develop it. Because again, it's been kind of this very form-based approach, right? If you just get your takeaway just right, you'll never slice the ball again. What's the clickbait kind of caption, right? You never slice the ball again. And then the guy slices the ball again. He's like, well, that's BS. Right. So again, a lot of people have turned away from psychology in that sense, or just been kind of not sure how to proceed. So here's the flip side. All right. What we've now got is basically akin to TrackMan plus Gears plus TPI plus AI. Okay. A completely individualized, bespoke intervention. Okay. And what do you need for that stuff to work? You need data.
Yeah.
You need data. Okay. So an app is here now. It's called PsychFlex,
Okay.
as in kind of short for psychological flexibility, which is the model that underpins ACT.
Yeah.
And you would need to be connected to a practitioner for it to work. But basically, you capture data. So the data capture you can do it every day, right? The more data you put in, the more intelligent the AI becomes. Yeah. And what it basically does is, like I was saying, it's like the gears, the TrackMan, the TPI. It gives a bespoke look at the individual, building up their history and their context, right? And then from there, we know the processes, the key processes of change. Okay. So this is, again, if your TrackMan numbers aren't changing, you're not getting any better, right? You with me?
Yep.
Yeah. So this is the game they've been playing, and they've done an extraordinary job of it. And I feel unbelievably fortunate that I just happened to look in the right place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you mention those two words a lot, that psychological flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
That is basically the ACT stuff, is it? Or is that the...
That's right. That's the kind of umbrella term for ACT. That's the underpinning kind of process and model. Yeah, that's right.
So if I have an example of a player, so I have a player that comes to me and they say, every now and again, like you said, every now and again, they call it their worm thought. This worm thought comes into their head, and
Nice. I like the metaphor. Yeah.
It's just like they lose all confidence to think they can hit a golf ball, and they play off of 8, 9, and thought creeps in, and she strikes it. She's a good golfer.
Yeah.
She gets in squad. She gets in the county squad, stuff like that. She's in there, but she keeps on coming back with this worm thought.
Yeah.
Where would you go with that?
Yeah. Well, to start with, I'd kind of ask her, and I'd encourage you to ask her, like, what are some of the strategies that she's tried to, she's probably been out there with a big old spade, like just waiting for that worm to pop its head up, right? Yeah. And what clients end up with when they kind of have that STD, if I can't play with this, right, is she's playing like a whack-a-worm game.
Yeah.
Right. It's like the whack-a-mole, right?
Yeah.
She's like waiting. When's it going to come? Is it there yet? Is it there? Is it there? Okay, it's not here. I can play. I can go. Is it here? Is it here? And then there is, right? But of course, all the while she's there whacking the worm cast. Who's playing the golf shot?
Yeah, 100%.
Who's playing the golf shot? So I think like just recasting that.
Yeah.
And kind of, do you see what I mean? At a attentional level, the issue is multitasking.
Yeah.
Okay. She's multitasking between watching out for the worm and trying to take care of it when it comes. Okay. And probably happening in different conditions. Okay. Yeah. So it's a little bit contextually bound. Like, for instance, when the worms tend to come up when it's raining. Right. I bet there'll be some conditions under which this thing rears up more than.
Yeah. The condition is generally an iron shot.
Okay.
Condition.
Yeah. So an iron shot, maybe a tight line, maybe it's back nine of competition, maybe it's with certain players. Do you see what I mean? That's kind of like when the rain falls, whatever. Yeah. But it's not the thing, it's her relationship with the thing. So she's like, I might even say, get her to watch Caddyshack.
Okay. Yeah.
You remember the scene with the gopher, right? That's what she's basically doing mentally, right? Yeah. She's trying to kill this frigging thing, and this thing has completely got hold of her. Okay. Yeah. You might, if you're going to get playful with it. So sometimes getting playful is kind of cool thing. Would be kind of like, give it a name. Yeah. You might even go like Earthworm Jim.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if you remember that character, right? If she's kind of old enough, I might be able to relate it.
Yeah, she might. I'm a bit young for that, I think.
Okay. Yeah, just cool kind of kids animation, when I was growing up. But it would be kind of like get her to do that exercise. Does it feel kind of like this, or does it kind of feel like this? Okay. Can you place that in your back pocket? Could you almost even, dare I say it, could you kind of welcome it in? All right. Allow it, as again, we're talking about this integration, right? Rather than, again, those conditional relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what does it feel like to be in a conditional relationship? Is that the kind of relationship you want to have with yourself?
Yeah.
Is that the kind of relationship you want to have with your game? Yeah. So if we can start to kind of get with it, begin to integrate it, then of course it starts to free up attention. So as I said, at an attentional level, this is multitasking. Sorry if I'm getting a little bit geeky, right? But if I say it something like this, right? I can text really well. Brilliant texter. Okay. I can drive really well. I'm a highly competent driver. Yeah. Can I do the two together? Sure as hell not, right? Everything is suffering. My texts are all over the place. My, driving, right? So it's a multitasking issue. If we really kind of get it down to this, most basic level of what's happening is she's multitasking, and the multitasking is happening between not the thing showing up, it's the struggle with the thing.
Yeah.
Like a Caddyshack kind of. Yeah. So the other thing I love about ACT is it's very rich in metaphors. So hopefully you could kind of see there how you can literally just build metaphors on the fly that suit the situation. Very cool. Do you mind if I, yeah, go on.
Yes, just on that, like the metaphors bring it back to a very logical way of thinking as well. Like the metaphors can show you how irrational the thoughts that you're having actually are, and then you can almost rationalize it a little bit more from there, right?
Okay. Now, one thing I would say is when we're dividing these things up, we're back playing the form game.
Okay.
This is a rational thought. This is an irrational thought. Okay. We're now dividing them up into their form. Okay. Putting them into these little boxes.
Yeah.
It sounds logical.
Yeah.
But it's not psychological.
Okay.
It's another trap.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, right? It's like saying to a kid who really kind of wants that thing or whatever it is, and it's kind of like, but it's not logical. Like, why would you see what I mean? But it's almost like we've got that inside, right? It's when we play the logic game, we get those conditional kind of relationships all spinning again.
Okay? Yeah. So that makes sense. That does make sense. Yeah.
Like I want people to play. I want clients to be able to play in a space that all of their irrational thoughts, all of their fears, all of their self-doubt, it's all welcome. Yeah, come on. Like, we're going on a ride. Yeah, you're welcome. Come on, right? Yeah. It's like passengers in a car to some extent, right? Yeah. She's almost like, I can't take this journey with this guy.
Yeah.
This. So psychological flexibility rests on 3 key pillars, okay? And to put them in a sporting context, because these are broad psychological, this applies anywhere the human mind goes. So relationships, work, mental health, fitness, goals, whatever, right? We can apply it to sport very, very easily and readily. But the 3 pillars would be, it's not about reducing stress or pressure. It's about building the capacity to embrace more. Yeah. It's not about motivating. It's about connecting to what matters. It's not about positive thinking. It's about taking positive action, no matter what you feel. Okay. So like that first one, it's not about reducing stress or pressure. So the culture really tells us if we can get the pressure off, it's almost like water in a cup, right? If we can, the water's building up, if we can somehow get rid of that stress, reduce the pressure, deep breathing, think about something you really like. Imagine yourself on the beach. Do you see what I mean? Relax, breathe, meditate. You with me? Yeah. Why don't we just build a bigger vessel? Yeah. Like, you take a teacup and you have it overfilling with water. You pour that in a bathtub, and what do you got? Yeah.
About nothing.
Yeah, really doesn't, see what I mean? So the effect of that, so it's a very different spin, very different way of looking at this. And before
you go on to another one, have you got anything technical wise, like technique wise, that you do in that category to increase that water space?
I've literally got a big bag full of them back here. So
He's got a bathtub full of them.
there we go. There we go. So yeah, absolutely. Okay. So let's take your lady as an example.
Yep.
Okay. So what I might do is, and the gold standard for this in psychology is called exposure.
Yep.
Okay. So whatever this thing that's kind of been struggling with, let's get her in contact with it, but in a new context. So we start to kind of develop and broaden her repertoire. Okay. So she can start to respond in different ways. So a fantastic one, had lots and lots of success with this. Actually had a tour player recently use this like really well. No one else on the range kind of knew what he was up to, but he's got his earbuds in, right?
Okay.
And basically he's recorded an audio of all his worst fears and doubts and everything else, right? So just record an audio of that thing, put it in your earbuds, play it, and then go and hit shots.
Yeah. Have I heard this from you before? I think I might have heard this from you. Yeah.
Quite possibly, but it's been a real, that one's been a real popular one with clients. So we're starting to kind of get flexible in their presence.
Yeah.
Okay, you with me? And people are shocked by that. They're like, they can have this thing in their ears and they can still do the thing that they're, wanting to do. So again, that's starting to kind of expand the repertoire. That's starting to kind of build the capacity, right? Yeah. I mean, if you really want a really good exposure one that's kind of going to get the heart fluttering and the adrenaline rushing a little bit, is try live streaming your practice.
Yeah.
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 You with me?
Yeah.
Like, you don't know who's watching.
No, probably nobody when it's mine.
Yeah. But again, even just that red light being on,
yeah,
you with me, starts to recreate a little bit of that. And again, the goal there is just, this isn't about white knuckling it.
Yeah.
Okay. This is about getting in the presence of it and starting to broaden your number of responses. Okay.
On that recording practice one, I was I watch a lot of YouTube, but I don't watch anything technical. But what I did watch the other day was Bryson talking through some practice routine stuff that he does. And he talks about how he just wants to hit this one shot as many times as possible. And what he gets his caddy to do sometimes is just drop a ball next to him or push the basket or do something that will take him slightly out of that task. And it sounds very similar, right? Because how many times will they have something on tour that will distract them, yet if they have those opportunities are there and they still hit good shots, they know that they can bring that up on repeat.
You got it. So again, that's kind of like a classic exposure exercise with those certain features of the context. And a great way to think about, often I describe this to clients, a great way to think about attention is a little bit like recall with the dog.
Yeah.
Okay, you with me? So often we're kind of in a sense this little trap that's starting to appear. Actually, I'm hearing this more and more, like, I must be more present. Okay. Again, it's got this kind of, can you feel that conditional feel to it? Right? Like, I have to be more present. Yeah. So we want to be kind of careful with some of these processes and use them well. But just coming back to that training the dog thing, a lot of these cultural STDs are saying to us basically, like, keep the dog on a tight leash next to you, like really pull this in. Like, and honestly, if you've got a big old, I don't know about your focus, but mine's like a friggin' St. Bernard. This thing is like much more powerful than I am. So how about, rather than that, how about we let this thing kind of just roam around free, and then when we need it to, here boy, right? And we just train that. And that's really what you're talking about with Bryson. He's deliberately creating conditions where his dog goes off and, oh, what's that? Squirrel, right? Goes off and sniffs around over there. And then he's training that. He's training the recall. Yeah. So it's really about training that attentional strength of bringing it back when it's needed, not having to sit it here, stay right there, do not move, got to be present. You're being present the whole friggin' 5 hours, right? You're not going anywhere. Does that feel does that feel like you kind of gaining strength, or does that feel like it's draining strength?
It's definitely giving me a migraine at the end of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think training that recall, can we get into a space where, this kind of wild, rampant puppy of ours between our ears can have some freedom and flexibility, and then see what I mean? We start to train that where we can just bring it back as and when it's needed.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. What about the next pillar then?
So it's not about motivating, it's about connecting to what matters.
Yeah.
Okay. So we tend to get this kind of rah, up with the motivation. Come on, let's get David Goggins on. Let's kind of listen to some motivating thing. Let's create those feelings. And then, right. And it's, it's kind of like pouring gasoline on a fire.
Yeah.
Yes, you might get this kind of thing, but we all know that burns out pretty quickly. So if we take this approach of it's about connecting to what matters, or kind of said another way, our values. So like, what do you want to stand for? Yeah. Like, what do you want to be remembered for? Like, really, what do you want to be remembered for? If I'm really leaning in, and again, this will be sensitive to the context of the clients, but sometimes I do like a eulogy exercise with them, right? Not to be too morbid about this, but kind of genuinely, how do you want to be remembered? What do you want to stand for? And are people going to remember the things you thought about doing and that were well-intentioned and the feelings you had? Or are they going to remember the things that you did? You with me?
Yeah.
So maybe we're coming back, we were chatting off air about that consistency.
Yeah.
You with me? Yeah.
Yep.
So connecting to what matters. This is like adding the kindling to the fire.
Yeah.
See what I mean? We get it burning, but for longer. It's a much kind of richer sense of, kind of like flavoring and savoring,
these, a much lower level of intensity, but it's always burning.
Yeah. And it's always available. Yeah. And the final one, it's not about positive thinking. It's about taking positive action, no matter what you feel. Yeah. So if you've got that commitment, like you were kind of talking about, if you don't mind me using you as an example for a moment. Yeah. Let's say we could take anything, but let's say as a general pattern of commitment and consistency, right? Let's say it was, health and fitness. So going for a run. Okay. Again, when we set those, that positive thinking type thing, just sounds logical. It's not psychological. It's a little bit like you look out the window, it's raining, it's cold, it's dark. You with me?
Oh yeah. The day is that day.
So can we get into this space where we're connecting with what matters? We're building our capacity, and we take action no matter what we feel.
So just on your example of running on a day like today where it's wet, windy, horrible, taking action would be putting on your clothes,
put the trainers on.
Yeah.
Get moving, get out the door. And you can take, your whining, whinging mind with you, right? But I don't want it, but you see what I mean, right? We don't have to kind of get all of this head stuff organized before we do the thing, okay? So again, the big flip with ACT, where it's always been kind of like feelings first, action second, we really switch that around, okay? So I would ask you something like, do you want to feel good before the run or after the run?
Yeah. After.
You with me?
That's I mean, I spoke about it, I think on the last podcast, because obviously I changed the name. I know we're only, this is sick one, we're only still growing it, but that was my thing, is I had all these ideas for these last 2 years and never took action on them. So instead of just keeping these ideas flowing and thinking of a brilliant name to start off with, I was like, right, let me just start this thing. And then if I come up with a good name, or someone close to me comes up with a good name, then we can change it, because it's it's only just started out. It's doing okay, but it's only just started out. We can change these things as you go. And now I'm 6 in. I've got people booked in, and you think, oh, okay, this is moving in the right way here, and I've now got a good name to go with it. And what does the name really matter in the end of things? Like, people know you've got a podcast. What does it really matter? So just keep doing it.
It's called ACT for a reason.
Yeah.
You with me?
Yeah.
So I'd like, just great work, and here I am, right? So it's, eyeballs are on this. And like, I kind of wonder, in that moment that you sent the email or you sent the message and you said, let's get this thing rolling. Yeah. Like, was it all, bursting forth from the head of Zeus, like all confidence and all like, this is going to be brilliant, it's going to be, or were there some doubts? Were there some concerns? Was there some anxiety?
I had no idea how to record on Zoom. I didn't have a Zoom account. All I had was, I made a graphic on Canva and I sent it to someone. I said, do you want to be the first person? And from there, I just learned before the day. And you are the first man where I'm not actually on my MacBook Air camera. I've actually gone and got a camera now. So we're 6 deep and we've only finally got a camera that's of any decent quality.
I love it. It's well, you can kind of feel that. I mean, you can almost imagine, right? Like, if you'd really stuck in that, it's got to feel good first.
Yeah.
Right? Do you want to feel good before this or after it, right? It's got to feel good. I've got to get these conditions right. Then I'll do this thing. This conversation isn't happening. Yeah. You with me?
Yeah.
And this is one of the key kind of components of psychological flexibility, is this idea of workability. Okay. So clients come in and they've been struggling and they've been, trying to, and this is my self-doubt and my confidence is low. And it's, what have you tried, right? And they tried all these things. I bet, like you did, right? You tried all these things. Maybe if I kind of do this, then I'll feel a little bit better about it. Maybe now's the right time to reassure yourself and everything else, right? And how did that work for you?
Yeah.
The self-doubt was still there. The anxiousness was still there. And then you finally decided, I'm walking into this. Yeah.
I don't know whether this is, I've got 2 questions. One question is, firstly, those 3 pillars, is there an order to them? Or is it?
Yeah, you can really lean in.
One area will lead into another area.
Yeah, they're all connected. Everything's interconnected. Yeah. It's 3 pillars. You can expand them out into 6 processes, but 3, you can collapse those into 3, and you can collapse those into 1, and that's just psychological flexibility is the model. But it's, as I said, it's very interesting. This app is live. It's being kind of built in the water, so it's developing. It's just, money is just being poured into it left, right, and center, and it's really looking to change psychology forever.
Brilliant.
How psychology is viewed. So treating the individual rather than looking, as I said, like the form of things. Yeah.
And also that positive action almost is a bit, if I put that into very much layman terms, or anyone who's read Atomic Habits, that's pretty close to that habit stacking philosophy, where it's give it 5-second task. Okay, if we're talking about running still, okay, get your top out the drawer and just put it on the side.
Right.
that's ready for the morning where you can go, right, now I can put the clothes on. That's another 30-second, 5-minute task, whatever it be. And then you can go, right, open the door. There's another, just stacking those little positive actions up again and again and again. And then finally, before you know it, you've finished the run and you're in a good place.
You got it. It's this kind of committed action is one of the 6 processes, if we kind of like, kind of unpack it. But it's got this close connection to values.
Yeah.
Okay. So sometimes I say with clients, it's not about how uncomfortable something is, it's about how meaningful it is.
Yeah.
Right? You with me? So you tie in these, committed actions to something that's of great importance to you.
Yeah.
And you've got a rocket, you're going to really start seeing some traction there. And we include the other processes, right? So we can, have our self-doubt and have our, concerns and everything else. And, we can get our hands and our feet moving in a direction that's important to us. Yeah. If you wanted to kind of sum, I think, psychological flexibility up in the most simple form, I would say it's the hero's journey.
Yeah.
It's the hero's journey. Right.
Yeah.
And when Joseph Campbell, I think, was the creator of the hero's journey. The first ever movie depiction of this was Star Wars, right? Luke Skywalker. But when he wrote A Hero with 1,000 Faces, he wasn't writing about Hercules.
Yeah.
He was writing about every damn person on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, we've all got our hardships. We've all been through our hard things. And it's about these processes kind of help to liberate people so that they can
100%.
Walk their hero's journey.
Yeah. So, Trevor, if you could put an umbrella on it, and this is probably a pretty generic and tough question to answer, one thing that you could give or say to every golfer that would make them mentally perform better. Can of worms open.
Yeah, great. I think I'd say something like, it's okay to be you.
Yeah. I like it. And then people have to branch off of that, right? It's okay to be you, but then branch off of that and make sure that you are you. And that brings you back to those pillars, right? Because if they don't know what matters to them.
Yeah. But connecting with this authenticity, people kind of know there's, actually, let me say it this way. So if someone was to take the thing that they struggle with the most, the thing that they find hardest about, whether that be golf or more generically, the thing that kind of comes along and at 3 a.m.
If you're putting it in my terms, it would be consistency.
Yes, yeah.
So definitely the thing.
But would it be okay, to be yourself, including, those struggles, right? So I think it's interesting how, if you ask people to put it into like a physical posture, like them at their worst with the things that they struggle with, it's always this kind of closing down, clenching, head goes down, see what I mean? Eyes close. Yeah. And when you ask people to show them at their best with that same issue, it's always this.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always head up, eyes open, embracing, right?
Yeah.
So it's that has a very authentic feel to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would like to cover before? I know I don't know whether I've covered the stuff that you would like to cover in there, but if there's anything else that you want to dive upon before finishing up, crack on, because you're a wealth of knowledge.
I think we've covered a lot of really good ground today, George. I think I've really enjoyed this conversation. And as I said, I'm on a little bit of a mission Hopefully it hasn't been kind of too much kind of self-praise in there, but there's so much this good work that's kind of been done in the background.
No, I think I think it's really good. And we've hopefully shed a light on that PsychFlex app. Obviously you need someone, so if anyone needs someone, I'm guessing you're the guy.
So come to me and I can kind of connect with whoever. So it doesn't have to just be me, but yes, we're working with a
So where can people find you then, Trevor?
Yeah, thank you, George. So at Mind Your Golf, so mind_your_golf is my kind of Instagram. And yeah, that's probably the best place to come and connect me, and you can get in touch from there.
Brilliant. Well, Trevor, it's been an absolute, it always blows every time we have a chat, you always blow my mind in some form of way. So thank you very much. I've got stuff to work on here. Hopefully we've given anyone who listens some things to think about as well. Again, check out Trevor. PsychFlex sounds like an absolute game changer, so it'd be pretty cool. And I appreciate you coming on today, Trevor. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, George. Thanks.